What's going on, everybody? Sean here, and welcome to another edition of On the Table, where we all take albums that we love and put them on the table to discuss and talk about what they mean to us. And this week, I'm going to be talking to you guys about the Mars Volta's debut album, De-loused in the Comatorium. What can I say about De-loused in the Comatorium other than this is probably the album that got me the most excited about music in my teenage years. I was 16 years old when it came out, and it was just the right time. It was really a right place, right time moment for me when this came out. It was summertime. I was learning to drive. I was starting to go places and do new things and see new things. And this album came out. I had listened to the Tremulant EP and loved it, and knew that as soon as an album was available, I wanted to hear it, and I had to listen to it. The upsetting thing about it was that the day it came out, I was very, very sick that summer, so I couldn't go get it like I wanted to that day. I had to stay home. I was very, very sick. But my dad volunteered to go pick up my pre-ordered copy, and he brought it home. And my first listen of this album happened me with a 100-and-something degree fever, sleeping in bed, listening to this. I fell asleep listening to it, and I had dreams. I had very weird dreams. Coming back to and waking up, the CD had stopped, and these images were still in my head, and I wasn't quite sure what that meant. And no, I hadn't taken NyQuil or anything like that. It had just been me and the music. And from that moment, it was kind of the album that got me excited about what it was to be in a band, what it was to be a musician in the rock genre in this day and age. That all of a sudden, these new avenues were completely open. There are songs on here that are fairly short. There are songs on here that are very long. And, back in that time, not a whole lot of rock bands were releasing very adventurous music. It was very formulaic, and I went so far with my obsession of it that when I found out the only way you could get the lyric booklet for this album was to get the vinyl record copy of it, I decided that I needed to have the vinyl record copy, despite the fact that I did not own a record player. But my Christmas gift that year was this record, this double record set that came with the lyric booklet and in this beautiful double gatefold vinyl. A couple other records that my dad thought I might like, and a record player. And this was my first vinyl record. Kind of got me into that vinyl collector habit, I suppose I could say. But for me, as far as what people will look at as progressive rock, this album is something completely different. It is so well thought out, and it is so well put together and so well arranged. And I think a lot of it has to do with the tag team producer team of Rick Rubin and Omar Rodriguez. I just think that those two coming together, Rick Rubin typically with his more hands-off kind of production approach, and Omar obviously having a hand in writing the music, would be much more married to it. But the one thing I can say about albums that Rick Rubin has produced, even though he's typically more hands-off, it's what he hears and his ears that make the album sound good. I'm sure he probably had his own criticisms about what could make this album better or worse, or what was going right and what was going wrong. I'm sure he said it, but for me, this album, as a debut album, it kind of falls in line with Boston's first album, or Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory. Just a debut album that perfectly captures the spirit of a band, and that's something that does not happen a whole lot. Inertiatic ESP is an amazing song to start an album on. The riffs and the chord choices and the note choices and guitar solos are just completely out of what I had come to think of as rock music to it got me really thinking, and it got me interested in exploring things and seeing things in a different way. And I just love Televators is another song that I just, every time it comes on, you just have to listen to it. And it's just so well done, and just, they're beautiful pieces, and as crazy as they can get. And I cannot skip songs on this record. I listen to it all the way through, and I feel like that's the best way to do so. You know, going even further, and you get the lyric booklet, which isn't even, it's not even just a lyric booklet. It is a story in and of itself. It has lyrics. You read through it and you wonder to yourself, what am I reading? Like, what kind of drug-induced nightmare fueled this this narrative? And because it's supposed to be a concept record, it's supposed to tell a story. As to what that story is, I mean, it's up to your own interpretation, and there are sources out there where you can find out the real story. But you know, to me, this album is a narrative, and so it deserves to be listened to all the way through. But it's a picture of a band with all the right ingredients to be successful, and it proved to be very successful for them. Of course, you know, At the Drive-In's back together, and the Mars Volta is no more. But for me, when I go back and listen to this record, I'm always reminded of that adventurous spirit that I wanted to find when I was that age. I wanted to find different types of music. I wanted to find different instruments. I wanted to find different sounds. That's the exploratory nature of making music, was really what this album helped expose me to. And that's what making music is. It's a constant experiment. It's constant exploration. You know, there are rules, but the rules are meant to be broken. And sometimes when you break the rules, you tend to find something pretty special. So if you haven't done yourself the favor of checking this album out, do yourself the favor.